My name is Lyndsey Pachon, and I am a broker and co-owner of Fall River Property Management. My consultation services are something that I offer my clients on both a formal and an informal basis. And I've found that my experience overseeing the management of our clients' multifamily portfolios has awarded a well-rounded perspective that a wide audience of investors could benefit from. So that's why I prepared this series of videos discussing the pitfalls of property management in the C-Class Multifamily Investment Space. Today's topic is the rental pricing and value of a good tenant. I've worked with many successful investors who have built large, profitable portfolios, and I've also worked with many clients new to investing in multifamilies who have underestimated the value of a good tenant. I guess the way my brain works makes me want to quantify my point, and I'm going to try to do that for you in this video. Because there is a sweet spot, right? Where you're getting the most rental income you can while still creating an environment conducive to low turnover. One of the things that successful C-Class multifamily investors all seem to have in common is that they don't overprice their units. A good tenant is one that pays their rent reliably and stays for a long time. It's pretty easy to spot an application that paints the picture of someone who can be financially reliable and afford your apartment. But just as important as the ability to pay is the desire to stay. As a C-Class multifamily investor, you cannot afford to have yearly turnover. I think that finding a tenant with a stable financial picture who is also going to stay long-term is like finding a diamond in the rough. As a multifamily owner, it is important to shift your thinking. Stop thinking about your apartment as a commodity and start thinking of the great tenant as the commodity. Landlords need to fight for the best tenants because they don't become available as often as bad tenants since they stay put for longer. And they can take their pick of any apartment that they want. You need to make the good tenants want to live in your property. How do you do that? I will tell you for sure that you don't need to provide granite countertops to attract good tenants. But what you do need to provide is value and a property that they can take pride in. You need to ensure that your tenants are not thinking about the fact that they can do better for the price they're paying every time something goes wrong in your apartment. Because Lord knows, things will go wrong in your apartment. So, how do we ensure that your tenant doesn't have a wandering eye? By making sure that they can't do better at the price that they're paying. By keeping your rents around the middle of the market value and nowhere near the top of the value. I want to quantify for you why this makes sense, because anyone can give advice, but do the numbers work? So let's say you have 6 units. Your turnover rate is going to be proportional to your rent amount. So the higher your rent, the higher your turnover. At the top of the market value, you can expect 0.8 turnovers per year for each unit in a C-Class multifamily portfolio. This means that on average, your tenants are staying a little over a year. These numbers are statistical and based on large sample size, but obviously there is variability when you zoom in and consider individual properties and tenants. But let's make data-driven decisions because I don't think we can do much better without the data. So let's say that your 6 units are all priced at the top of the market value at $1,600 per month. Let's estimate that turnovers cost 1 month rent for repairs and upgrades, 1 month rent for vacancy, and half of a month rent for a leasing fee. For this property, a turnover costs on average $4,500. So at $1,600 a month, each unit brings in $19,200 per year minus the cost of the turnover. So $19,200 minus 0.8 times $4,500. Which is $15,600 per year of rental income per unit. Now, let's imagine that you priced your unit, as I would advise, at the middle to lower end of the market value, at $1,500 per month, where tenants don't see better options on Zillow every time they look. At the middle of the market value, when a property is well maintained with respectable common areas, the average tenant stays 2 years, maybe longer. Another way of saying this is that your tenant moves 0.5 times per year. So let's look at the math. 18,000 minus 0.5 times 3750 is $16,125. Let's look at the year. If your rent roll for your 6-family is $1,600 per unit, your property will bring in $93,600 per year. If your rent roll for your 6-family is $1,500 per unit, your yearly rental income is $96,750 per year. Not only do you have a more stable rental property at a lower rent rate, but you lose less on turnover. These numbers were also incredibly generous in assuming that none of the tenants cost more than 1 month rent in the turnover costs, and none of the vacancies last more than a month. In a C-Class multifamily property, it is more profitable to charge less, and the numbers prove it. Have a nice day.